What up guys, hope everybody's doing amazing. It's your boy Vini back with another FL Studio tutorial. Today we're having a look at a new feature called the Automation Editor. The reason I felt I needed to make this video is this feature has been released a couple of months ago. I'm talking like almost a year. And the official manual of FL Studio has not been updated. ImageLine did not do an official release video. Nobody covered it on YouTube. People want to use this thing. They want to know what they can do with it, but there's no resources whatsoever. So I'm here to remedy that. I'll give you a couple pointers on the most useful things you can do with it, and I also got some pointers for ImageLine support. I'm looking at you. I got a couple things that I think you could improve to make this thing actually useful. So let's get right into it. Guys, before I give you any semblance of content whatsoever, make sure you absolutely mutilate that like and subscribe button. Let's go. Okay, let's start real basic. To open this thing up, double click any automation in FL Studio. Now that you got the automation editor open, you can see it mirrors what's happening in the automation on the playlist. If I move a point here, you can see it's moving on the playlist as well. You can remove points just like you would in the playlist. You can drag them around, change the curves just like you would in a normal automation. So you might be wondering, what the hell is the point if it's the same thing? Well, you can be so much more precise using this thing. If I change the main snap up here, you can see it changes the background. Using a quarter beat, it's actually ridiculous how precise I can get. I am snapped right now because I have this little magnet icon active and I'm moving the point. As you can see, if I zoom in, I am moving the point super precisely. By activating the little pencil icon and deselecting the snap, I'm able to draw shapes. As you can see, this created like 100 million points that make up the shape I just drew. This little drop-down menu gives you access to some features like flip the whole thing upside down. You can smooth up the points using these sliders right here. All the standard shortcuts for automation also apply. Right-click D to delete. Right-click C to copy value, right-click V to paste value, right-click T to type in the percentage value. I'm gonna be real with you, in its current state, this is far from being a revolution. I seldom use it to actually edit automations. I'm still more familiar and comfortable using the playlist automation to edit. Later in the video, I will give some opinions for ImageLine on how they can improve this thing to make it so much better. And if you have any ideas, make sure to drop them in the comment section below so I can forward these too. But hear me out. There is one thing that the automation editor brings that is such a huge quality of life improvement. So an issue everybody has had in FL Studio is you sometimes lose track to what your automations are linked to. So they're automating multiple parameters at the same time and you don't know why one thing is moving. You don't know which automation is linked to it. Basically, it's a complete mess. You don't know which automation automates which parameter. You lose track of everything. But hear me out. If you stick around with me here and use the automation editor, you will never have to face this situation ever again. So what's this magic solution? We'll start off by opening up the automation editor. This section at the bottom is life-changing. It's called Target Links and it justifies the existence of the automation editor by itself. The first thing it does is you can easily see what parameters this automation clip is linked to. There's a little drop down here and you can see the whole list. For the sake of simplicity in this tutorial, the automation is currently affecting the mix on the first 4 inserts of the mixer track. Now that I know what parameters this automation clip is affecting, say I want to remove slot 3 and slot 4 so they're not affected anymore. I would just click this X right here and there you go, they're removed, and now it's only affecting slot 1 mix level. Demonstrated here that it's the only parameter still affected by the automation. So that in and of itself is an insane boost to the quality of life using automation in FL Studio, but it's not all there is to it. Word of advice, guys, if you're liking the content, go check out my YouTube channel. There's loads of other stuff for FL Studio, Serum, mixing in general. Let's get it. They made it so it's super easy to add new links to the automation, so it automates new parameters. As I showed, you can remove them easily using the X, but you can also add them easily by clicking this little plus icon. Be aware you can't do this if your song is playing at the same time, so hit the stop button before you do anything. Now with this little plus icon active, move any parameter that's automatable in FL Studio and it just adds it right here as a link. You might be asking yourself, does this affect third-party plugins as well? So I pulled up the beautiful Serum. Let's try with the Portamento knob. and boom, it just works right off the bat. These to me are such huge quality of life boosts for using automation in FL Studio. Just click this thing when you want to add links, hit the X button when you want to remove the links. It is mind-blowing. Thank you so much, ImageLine, for adding this. I'm actually not done with the good stuff though, so make sure you stick around. We're going back to the target links section. So we're going to start with a little wrench icon right here. Click on it and it brings up the remote control settings tab, which I think you're probably familiar with. So you have access to the mapping formula to, for example, make it inverted, or you can use these presets right here. Generally, I don't really use that, but you have it. And you also have the smoothing control, which you can adjust with the time slider, which makes it so that points going from like 1 to 0 instantly, well, that's going to apply a bit of smoothing to that curve. So nothing really new with this tab, but it's convenient that you can just bring it up with the wrench icon. Moving on to the good stuff. If you click this little arrow icon, it will locate the parameter in FL Studio. If I click on it right now, it brought up Serum since I was automating a parameter inside of Serum. But even better is this little knob icon, which will basically do the same thing, except it'll also move the parameter so you can easily see where it is on your screen. Again, it's just so much fun. I personally use the target link section all the time. It just completely changed how I handle automation, made it so much easier. New day, new section of the video, right? So I think there's a couple of things they need to improve in order to make other sections of the automation editor useful besides the target link section. Starting with the fact that this section right here really isn't anything better than just editing straight up in the playlist. One of the main reasons for that is if I cut this thing, for example, and duplicate it, you can see it does not reflect on the automation editor. That's just the way things work in FL Studio. When you duplicate something, it does not become unique by default. So when I move a point, it moves on both automations at the same time. This is why if you're trying to make a really lengthy automation with variations across your song, it's a bit of a pain in the butt to do right now. The best course of action would be to duplicate your automation and then make it unique. Now FL Studio understands this is a different automation clip completely than the one before. So if you move a point, it only moves on this automation clip in particular, not the other ones. Following that logic, now the new automation clip has its new automation editor, which you can bring up. All of this makes it tiring and difficult to use, unfortunately. They did try to address this issue by giving us automation merging, which you can achieve by selecting two automations and hitting Control G on your keyboard. Sounds great in theory, but in practice, it's really not that great. So if I try it right now, it doesn't work. That's because I need a point both at the exact end and the exact beginning of both of my automation clips, else it can't merge them. Let's zoom in so you can actually understand what I mean. As the point wasn't exactly at the end here, it doesn't work. So I need to modify my automation to make it so that this point is exactly here. Now let's try it again. It still doesn't work. This point right here wasn't at the exact end. Okay, so I think now it should work. All right, it did work. Finally, now if I double click it, it reflects in the automation editor. First conclusion, they need to improve automation merging. It's a great concept, but it is so bad in practice. Secondly, the fact that you can't select multiple points at the same time to move them or delete them all is crazy to me. This is valid both for the automation editor and just straight up editing automation on the playlist. How the hell am I supposed to manage this thing right here? There's like 100 million points and I can't just control drag, select them all and delete them. No, that's not a thing. So I think that's a big issue they need to address right now. And thirdly, while we're at it, why the hell can I not resize automation going to the left? I can make it as long as I want going towards the right, but if for some reason I added stuff beforehand, I need to extend my automation this way, I can't. What I need to do is move it, then go to slide mode and slide the whole thing back to where it was. It makes absolutely no sense. All right, so sorry for the big rant about automation. I love FL Studio dearly, but I still think it could be so much better. Support, I hope you're watching this. There's a couple of things here and there you need to fix that'll improve the user experience so much. Having said that, The target link section is a bullseye. You guys nailed it. It is awesome. You that's watching right now, I highly recommend you start experimenting with the automation editor and especially the target link section. It'll make your life so much easier for managing automation in FL Studio. And I also highly recommend you subscribe to the channel. Stay updated to all my FL Studio mixing and Serum tutorials. It is a commitment for me to always bring to you guys the news first. For example, on the new FL Studio Frequency Shifter plugin, there's also some crazy stuff coming up for recording and quality of life in FL Studio. So make sure to stay tuned. I'll be there. Peace.